Hey, how is everyone doing? 1 second. It is Friday, May the 13th. So yes, it's Friday the 13th. 1 second, y'all. I was just in the room and I'm trying to make sure that everybody knows how to get in. Okay, but hey, it is Friday. I am so excited it's Friday. It has been a very long week. As y'all can see, this is no makeup Friday at all. It is all natural up in here in the office. But May is Mindset Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I just wanted to come and talk to you guys for session 2 of our mindset challenges. I want to make sure everyone who is in the room is able to get on the live. But so today we're going to be talking about blame and shame and how that cycle of negative thoughts creates discord in relationships, creates discords in your life, creates discord all around. Hold on 1 second. There's somebody trying to get in here, but it's not letting me add you in. I'm not sure why it's not letting me add you. So yeah, we're talking about blame and the shame cycle and all of those things. And a lot of times we see blame a lot in relationships with our children, our friendships and things, and we don't consider it that bad until something really dramatic or drastic happens. So for example, we see blame a lot in our children. It's like, here's the classic scenario. I hear it at least 15 times a day with my children. Is that one child will hit another child and you ask them, why did you hit them? And they will say, they made me mad, so I hit them. They are blaming their actions when in reality, the issue of why they hit them is because they were mad. Like that they wanted that person to feel the effects of their anger or their hurt. They wanted to hurt the other person. And so a lot of times when it comes to children and those kinds of things, we say, oh, that's normal. We accept it. And it's not until something drastic happens where there is a situation of cyberbullying or something where we reject it and we say, oh, that was too far. Or that was too much. And a child commits suicide, or a child does something to harm another child, then we say, oh, that's too far, that's too much. But today what I really want to address is, why do we let it get that far? How do we as women, as adults, as people, stop the blaming other people cycle, stop the shaming other people cycle? And really self-reflecting on taking responsibility for our own actions and our own motives to be able to go forward, all right? So, pause there. What is blame? What is shame? There's a third word that we're not really going to get into, which is guilt. So, when it comes to shame is a core belief that you are not worthy. You are not measuring up. It could be generally, or it can be in a specific area of your life. Blame is when it becomes, because of someone else, that's why I fill in the blank. Is that I wouldn't do this if you wouldn't do that. And sometimes what happens is when someone does something and they get called out on it and they are made to feel ashamed of it, they immediately start clapping back and blaming the other person's motive, actions, and different things about why their reaction is the other person's fault. So it becomes this weird, toxic cycle of you did something to me. The reason why I did it to you is, and I respond, and then I say I did it to you because you did it to me. And then we just create this whole toxic cycle. So today, what do we do to get out of that, and how does it look? So I'll share with you, for me, one of the core shame issues that I had is that I had this core belief for a really long time that when things happen to me, I probably deserved it on some level. Like, so if you hurt my feelings, I was like, but yeah, I probably deserve that because I am kind of blunt and kind of this. And on a surface level, it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it gets to a deeper level and I was starting to accept behavior that wasn't acceptable from friends, family members, and even those that I was in a relationship with, because on a deep level, I had a level of shame. And so I just accepted all of this toxic things. So when time went on and I started dealing with a lot of that, I started realizing that, oh wait, even though this might be a core shame belief that I have ascribed to, it's not true. And when I did that, being able to say, wait, I don't deserve that kind of treatment. I don't deserve that kind of behavior. And I released the shame associated with it. Then when you tried to blame me for something, it was easy for me to correct you in that, no, it's not because of me that this feels this way. It's because of you. So here's a perfect example. I was in a romantic relationship before, and this person used to always say to me, you are difficult to love. And I was like, really? Like me? But I was like, well, I guess I have kind of a difficult personality. So over a period of time, I kind of just accepted that as true. And it wasn't anything that like ruined my self-esteem or anything like that, but it was just kind of like one of those things in the back of my mind. So then this shame label started going even further into blaming. I do this because you're difficult to love. And I'm like, wait, I call BS on that. Like, no. And so the man, he had a really difficult time understanding that his blame cycle, him blaming me for I did this because you're difficult to love, wasn't about me. It was about him. It was about him not being in a position to be able to take responsibility for his own actions. It was about him not being able to take responsibility for his own immature thought process. It was about him not being able to take responsibility for fill in the blank. And that is where this whole cycle of blame gets really, really scary. If you're one of those people that it doesn't matter what happens or how it happens, it is always somebody else's fault, then you really need to take a hard look in the mirror and challenge yourself and see, like, what is it about you that makes you want to blame someone else? What is it? So the way you do this is just kind of listen to your conversations, or think back to the conversations that you had when you're mad, sad, angry, all the things. Do you usually start the conversation of, I can't believe such and such did that to me? Or if she wouldn't have said that to me, then I wouldn't have had to snap. Or sis, if you are always the person that is snapping off, popping off, hitting, fussing, fighting because somebody did something to you, they are not the problem. You are. Sorry, I hate to say it that way. I know I hurt your feelings, but you are the problem, because at some point you have to take responsibility for you. I say this to my kids all the time. I apply it to my own life as well, that if someone has the ability to make you act a certain way, then they are in control of you. Your problem is not that person gets on your nerves. Your problem is that you don't have self-control. And now when it comes to little kids, we accept that. We're like, yes, little kids hit, spit, and bite each other because they have not developed self-control. So at what point do we as adults take responsibility and say that we are going to develop our own self-control? That we're not going to allow the actions of someone else to dictate our behavior, to dictate our mood, to dictate our life. That we're not going to allow the way someone thinks, feels, or talks to us dictate how we carry ourselves. Now, I'm not telling you to be a doormat because if you've met me, I am a pretty assertive person. But what I am saying is that it's one thing to correct someone if they speak to you inappropriately. It is one thing to say, hey, I'm not going to tolerate this kind of behavior, this kind of talk, and remove yourself from the situation. It's a whole nother thing when you don't have the maturity and self-control that anytime somebody says something to you, you're ready to fight. And I'm just talking about physical fight, even just the kind of stuff. It's like, at what point do you decide that you're not gonna play into this blame game cycle? You're not gonna allow someone else to control that. And so what I like to do today, this morning, is just point out, like, what do you do about that? How do you move forward if you do constantly find yourself saying, well, I wouldn't have X if they wouldn't have Y? If you're always putting yourself in that situation where you are the blamer, where you're saying, yes, you did this to me and that's why I did this. How do you move forward from that? That's the first thing I want to talk about. And then the second one is when you do something, when you're the person who committed the offense, and whoever you committed the offense against gets onto you, they get down, they challenge you. Is your knee-jerk reaction, is your first reaction to criticize back and to point to something that they may or may not have done, an imperfection in them, to justify your behavior? That also starts the blame game also. So let's talk about the first person and what you can do. Not really easy steps, but they're simple. They're simple. When somebody says something to you, does something to you, makes an allegation against you, the first thing you want to do is just take a minute to stop and think. Think about what they are saying and how it affects you. So for instance, if you're in a situation and a coworker is lying on you about something that happened at work, then the first thing to do is to think about, what effect does this lie have on my career? And my response to it, what effect does my response to it have on my career? And after you stop and really assess what effect that the offense has on you, the second thing you're gonna do is decide right then and there, in like the whole 2.5 seconds, decide if a response is necessary. Okay, so this is harder done than it is said, because when people say and do things, it is so easy just to like give them a piece of your mind. But what I'm challenging you to do is that instead of letting other people control you, take back control. So a lot of times, if I'm in an impassioned debate, I don't respond. I will say, I hear you, and I'm listening. And I might say, I don't agree. But I will not respond immediately. And the reason why I don't respond is because I know that I am human and I am capable of hitting below the belt. And so I don't want that person, whatever they're telling me, whether they're right or wrong, whether it's something I actually did or whether it's not something I did, regardless of the situation, I do not want to get into a situation where then I start criticizing them, I start attacking them because of what they've said or what they've pointed out, whether it's true or not. Because even if what they're saying to me is a very true statement, It is hard to hear people say things about you or correct you when you immediately get all defensive and all in your feelings. So step one is to assess the situation and what effect this is having on you. And then second is make a 2.5 second decision of whether a response is necessary right then. Sometimes it is necessary to respond, but just not right in the moment. Third thing, when you're in a situation where you are the person where the blame is being put on you, is to look for the truth in it. Like, is it true or is it not true? If it's something that's true, then say, okay, why am I feeling this way? Am I now feeling ashamed of my behavior? Is this a true statement about me? And I am feeling ashamed. I'm feeling shame because I feel like that part of me is broken and I can't fix it and I don't want to fix it. So instead of trying to fix it, I'm about to tell you all the stuff that's wrong with you. And that's where that blame kind of flows into shame. So let me give you an example of this. When I was a kid, had lots and lots of situations where I was always blaming folks and people were always blaming me for all kinds of stuff. I never wanted to take responsibility for anything. If I could figure a way out of getting in trouble, I was gonna do that. And I learned a lot of really hard lessons because of that. And so there was this one, I'm trying to say this without saying anybody's name. There's this one situation where I was blamed for doing something, okay? And I did it. I was guilty. But I was like, how dare you blame me for da-da-da-da-da? And I went off. And then instead of me taking a moment to really appreciate that what the person was telling me and correcting me on was for me to become a better person, a better version of me, that ain't what I did, boo. I then, because I was feeling shame, because I was like, well, I did do that, and I usually always do that, but that's who I am, and I'm not trying to change it. What I did is attack. I then started any and everything I could think of that would hurt that person. I began just spewing it at them, like bringing them down, that kind of thing. And in my head, it was like, yep, winning. Because for me, because I was in that, I feel shame, so now I'm going to attack and blame you. It was all about winning the fight, winning the argument. It wasn't about savaging the relationship. It wasn't about growing as a better person. It was about winning. And that, guys, is something that we have to move forward on. Like, there is this whole societal thought that you have to be the biggest, the brightest, the best, even when it comes to fighting disagreements and arguments, is that you gotta win. And that is so far from the truth. Winning is not the goal. What the goal is growing, resolving conflict, and becoming better versions of ourselves. So when you are in the situation that you are the person being attacked, like you are the person being blamed, that you really take a moment to assess the situation, decide if a response is even necessary, and then look and see if there's any truth in it or if it's an outright lie. Because if there's some truth in it, then you need to really, before you respond, need to figure out what you can learn from it. If it's an outright lie, then it may be necessary to respond right then. Like, nope, I don't accept that. I'm moving on. And that's how to just get through that guilt and blame cycle. Last week, we talked about the rule of 3. And this concept of shame and blame is directly related to that. Because when you get in a situation where someone does something to you and they say that or they accuse you of something, whether it's true or not, you start playing this narrative in your head. And when you're saying this narrative in your head, you start going through, and I should have said this, and I need to say this, and I need to say this. And then you start repeating that narrative to other people. Girl, let me tell you what such and such did to me. Well, let me tell you. And you want to let me tell you all these people, but it's not helping you. It's not helping the situation. It's not helping you deal with the situation. All it is just putting more gasoline on the fire. So when you're going through this process and you are assessing the situation, when you are deciding if you need to respond, and when you are then looking to see if there's any truth in it or if it's just outright untrue, you need to do that. And then if you need a sounding board of someone to do that with, remember the rule of 3. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch last week's video and apply that as you're going through the scenario, as you're going through the situation. And then you also want to look at it from a perspective of if you're the blamer. If you're telling someone, you don't need to do this because it makes me XYZ. You have to be very, very careful of telling people the reason why your behavior is the way it is because of something they did. Because oftentimes that is not true. Even if the person did awful, horrible things to you, you always have a choice. You have a choice to make about how you move forward, what you do, and how you do it. So even if somebody did you wrong, like you have the choice of whether you are going to allow that behavior to infiltrate who you are, or if you are going to process that hurt, process that betrayal, process that offense, be able to heal from it and release it, and then go forward and become a better version of yourself because of it. As women in relationships, especially women of divorce, I have heard and seen so many clients that say things like, if my ex-husband would not have done this, I wouldn't be this way. Or I'm bitter and angry because my ex did this. That whole concept is just not truth. Like when you allow someone else to control you, you give away all your power. Instead, it would be, I have the ability to be bitter because of what my ex did, but I choose not to be. And these are the things that I choose to be instead, because I understand the power that I have inside of me, the ability that I have to go forward, and I have not given that power to someone else, to my ex. I'm not going to blame them because I'm not willing to do the work on me. And that's a lot of what this is. That's a lot when it comes to the trauma of being divorced, the trauma of being abandoned. Those abandonment issues come up, self-worth issues come up. And it's not just for divorced women. It's for people in all kinds of relationships. Once you are in this sacred entity that's supposed to be forever for the rest of your life, and then it's not, you feel kind of entitled to have all of these issues. Like, I have the right to be angry. I have the right to be this. I have the right, and that may be true. You have the right to be and do whatever you want to be and do. But who is it serving? Is it serving you well? Or instead, is it just bringing you down? Is it making it harder for you to now be the most authentic, awesome version of you that God created? Is it blocking the ability for you to both give and receive love? Are you now modeling for your children bitterness, anger, and all of these things, when instead you can be modeling something better for them? So when it comes to, I have a right to, this is mine, I have that, like, yeah, boo, you do. You got the right to whatever you want to have a right to. But is it serving you? And if it's not, let it go. Let it go. Earlier this week, I posted on Facebook this Facebook meme, and it basically had to do with not allowing people to help you and asking for help because you've been disappointed so many times before. And a lot of people they said it really resonated with them. It resonates with me as well. So what the basis of the quote was is that it's difficult for me to allow people to ask people for help because I've been disappointed so many times before that I'm like, I got it. Don't even worry about it. And it wasn't shocking, but I was glad so many people admitted that resonated with them, because a lot of that flows right into this cycle that we're talking about how the shame and blame cycle starts appearing in our life. It's that now I am this way because people have disappointed me in the past. So I am then blaming the fact that I've been disappointed on these other people to justify my current behavior. When the truth of the matter is that I don't allow people to help me because it puts me in a vulnerable position that makes me feel uncomfortable. That is truth. And so we have to be okay with leaning in to that vulnerable, uncomfortable truth of why we are the way we are, why we blame other people and situations to justify who we want to be. And it's cool. If you don't want to have to depend on anybody or ask anybody for help and do everything yourself, do you, boo? You can do that. But if it's exhausting, if you're ready to try something different, then I challenge you to do it. Do it. One person, one situation at a time. It can start with just one little thing. And you have to know that once you open that door, then yes, there can be more disappointment. There can be other hurts, but you have to be open to that. I grew up in a church. My dad is a pastor, if you don't know it. But one of the biggest visualizations and analogies that I've seen and that I'm able to apply in all areas of my life is there was an analogy of receiving from God and being able to be a giver to other people. And so it was like you need to be a person that always has their hands out, not only ready to give to other people, also you're open to receive from other people. And so the analogy is that if you're stingy and you always got your hands clenched trying to hold on to everything you have, is that you will keep what you have, but you won't be open to receiving from other people because your hand is closed up. Most of you have heard that, seen that. This is not new philosophy here. When it comes to the blame shame cycle, when it comes to saying, I am this way because I've been hurt in the past, or this person did this to me, is that if you then decide that I am going to allow people to be there for me, it requires you to open your hand. When you open your hand, you are also exposing yourself to the vulnerability of being hurt and someone trying to take advantage of you. But also, you are opening your hand to be able to receive some really amazing people and experiences in your life. I know, trust me, I was one of these people that was like this with my emotions, and I'm still not a highly emotional person. But the more that I started opening my hands and allowing myself to be more vulnerable with people, allowing my friends and family who I know, like, and trust to be there for me, to lean on them, to be able to depend on them, it's amazing how the weight was lifted from my shoulders. And I'm sure the weight will be lifted from yours as well. I am so glad you guys joined me this Friday for our Mindset May. We will be back next Friday as well. Next Friday, we will be talking about another subject, another topic. I'll let you guys know what we'll be talking about throughout the week. And y'all have just an amazing Friday. Friday the 13th, it's a bad rap because it's supposed to be like bad luck day. But no, I reject all that. To me, this Friday the 13th is going to be amazing, and I hope it's going to be amazing to you too. And I will see you guys next Friday. Talk to you soon.